Welcome back. Okay, so with today's video, I decided that I am going to do a two-part series in order for the information to digest a little bit better, since the tarot has a very long history, many stories, many theories, so I just felt that in order for me to really dive into the tarot for you, I split it up into two series. So the first series, which is today's video, is all about the foundation of the tarot, kind of a little bit of the history, so you can kind of get an understanding of where the tarot is coming from. And then the second part of the series is to show you how to read the tarot and give it a little bit more detail. So if you're new around here, hi, I'm Gerard. I'm the owner and witch of Earth's Curious Goods, and don't forget to subscribe if you like today's video and you would like to see more. And of course, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so let's begin. So the tarot. I guess the best story that I came across was that about 2,000 years ago, the tarot kind of came to be in the form of playing cards. There were scholars and sages back then that came across a prophecy. And in that prophecy, it was stating that Egypt would be destroyed and all would be lost. And of course, back then, they didn't have hard drives or backup systems or cloud systems. So what did they do? To preserve some of the deeper mysteries and unsolved things and things that they felt were important, they kind of encoded them into secret symbols or universal secret symbols. And then over time, those universal secret symbols became playing cards. So I thought that story was really awesome. And when I heard it, I was just like, wow, that's pretty cool. So that's kind of the first account of the tarot system coming to be. So over 2,000 years in Egypt. But I want to draw attention to China, and the reason why I want to draw attention to there is that China played a huge part in the tarot system, in the fact that they introduced paper to Europe. And of course, back then in Europe, vellum and parchment, which was like animal skin, were used as a form of writing. And of course, creating playing cards with animal skin is probably going to be pretty difficult. So with the introduction of paper from China, the first set of playing cards were able to be formed, and in order for that kind of thing to happen, we know this because the laws back then, they were included in those laws were the prohibition of playing cards, along with tobacco and things of that nature, but it was considered illegal to have playing cards. So we know that they definitely started to pop up after China introduced paper to Europe. And the first set of playing cards that were formed were called the MAMLUK. MAMLUK or MAMLUK? MAMLUK playing cards. I hope I'm saying that right. But that's what they were called back then. And the most that we can figure out on what I've come across as far as sources go is that the MAMLUK were slave warriors that were originating from the Caspian Sea and were brought to Egypt. And there they kind of ruled, and these their form of playing cards came to be. That kind of spread over into Europe as paper was introduced. With the MAMLUK playing cards, the four suits were kind of created in those playing cards, which were coins, swords, cups, and polo sticks. And as Europe kind of adopted the playing system, the polo sticks were kind of changed out for just sticks or clubs or something, or staves, just because they didn't have any knowledge of polo. So it just, stand to reason why that would have changed for them as they were creating these playing cards. Now, as far as those playing cards in Europe surviving, there's not a lot on record for them surviving. I'm thinking it's because they were prohibited. Also, during that time period, creating fires and things of that nature, you were a lot more important than playing cards. And if I'm freezing and I have a set of playing cards with me, I'm definitely going to put those into the fire to keep that fire going, to just keep me warm, versus just having the playing cards. So with that, there's not a lot of those playing cards left. We just know that they existed during that time period. With these playing cards, I want to also talk about trick games. Bridge is one of the trick games, and when I say trick games, what that just means is that these cards were played in a, who has the higher card. So if one player has the King of Cups and I have the Page of Cups and another person has the Two of Cups, the King of Cups, would win because it is a higher value than the other two cards. So they would win the trick or the whole stack, in my opinion. But like with all games, we always want to, as a human race, we like to make the games more interesting or try to make it grow. And so that's where we start seeing what's called the trump cards coming up. Why that is super important is that to make the game more interesting, I would designate, or whoever was playing the games, they would designate a card to be a trump card. So if you were holding the Two of Cups, and that's the trump card, and I hold the King of Cups, and you play the Two of Cups, you would win because that was the trump card. It trumped all other cards. And so that was actually pretty awesome to make the game interesting, and I thought that was cool. Now we're gonna fast forward a little because of course the tarot started going through many different parts of the world and countries, and so I'm not going to go in depth, and because in my opinion that would take forever and we'd have 8 hours of video, and I don't want you sitting there watching 8 hours of me as much as I would appreciate it. But we are going to fast forward to a tarot deck, the Visconte Sforza tarot card deck, and with that deck or those tarot cards had 15 decks or 15 sets. A lot of those cards were hand painted, and the nobility got their hands on it, and the Visconti family were of nobility, and they kind of played a huge role on all those decks of cards appearing. One in particular I really like is the Cariel Visconti deck. And with that deck, there were a female version of the suits. So if you had the King of Cups, you would have a Queen of Cups. And if you had a Knight of Cups, you would have a female Knight of Cups. And if you had the Page of Cups, you would have a female Page of Cups. And I just thought that was very interesting and kind of different as far as the major cards playing, or the trump cards. But yeah, that deck of cards I thought were really interesting to me, and now we're in probably around like the 1400s when the nobility had that. Also, I wanted to draw attention to the Visconti cards because there is a theory or a story that the Lover's card was based on the marriage of the Viscontis, and there was a lot of drama in there where Bianca Visconti and Francesco, there was the arranged marriage, and back then how they would just oh no, please, I don't want to marry you, I'm not in love with you, and, you know, oh, you have to marry him because, you know, that's just how it is, you know, I don't care if you love him. So I thought it was very interesting that the Lover's card kind of depicts that in that aspect of their marriage, and that's the theory behind it, especially with the ornate dresses, and it's kind of that Renaissance kind of feel and period of the nobility. So the Visconte deck definitely played a role. Okay, we're gonna fast forward to a man named Eliphas Levi. And that was his pen name. His name that he was born with was Alphonse Louis Constant. And somewhere in there he decided that he was going to just change his name. And so he was going to be known as Eliphas, hopefully I'm saying that right, Eliphas Levi the Magus. The reason why I want to draw light on him is that he influenced a lot of books on magic and ceremonial magic and high magic. But in his books and what he influenced, you will see the tarot appear. And Eliphas was very adamant that the tarot cards came from Egypt. And in his opinion, he had a thought that the tarot were corrupted and weren't in its original form. He wanted them to be in its original form, go back to the actual core of what the tarot was supposed to be. And of course, I kind of agree with him, because if you think about it, you know, playing cards, and it went from human to human and people to people, and to this day, even in Italy, I think they call it Bisconte, or they still have these playing cards, and they play with them. But with Eliphas, he was very adamant on trying to bring it back to its basic. Now, in no ways are there any records or anything that I've come across where Eliphas actually created an actual tarot deck, but in his notes he kind of made a structure on what the tarot could be and should be. And experts have deemed that Eliphas Levi's notes did influence the tarot, because the chariot in his notes, if you notice, if anyone knows about chariots, they're usually pulled by horses. But if you look at the chariot in the tarot deck, it is pulled by sphinxes, which of course we all know that sphinxes are highly associated with Egypt. Also, another account of like the Empress and the star above her head in the pictorials are also in kind of Eliphas Levi's notes. So we definitely can see the influence of him on the tarot. Now I'm gonna fast forward, because I do want to show how the tarot went from a French deck called like the Marseille playing cards into kind of the current deck that a lot of people are familiar with. But in order to do that, we're going to go to the 1900s, where Freemasons and Rosicrucians and secret orders kind of were around. And the reason why I want to draw attention to that, there was an order called the Golden Dawn that really stood out for me in a lot of source material. And in particular, there was a member of the Golden Dawn, and his name was Sir Arthur Edward Waite. And Sir Arthur Edward Waite came across Levi's notes and really took it in, and for some odd reason he just felt during the 1900s that it was time to create a tarot deck, to bring it back to its original form like Levi wanted. And so he decided to consult a woman, and her name was Pamela Colman Smith. And Pamela, she was sort of, in my opinion, a socialite. She was in the circle of kind of like on the outer skirts of the Golden Dawn. It's kind of like you have your group of friends, and then that's the person that kind of knows your friends, and we all kind of know each other because so-and-so knows so-and-so. So she was like that. And she was also into theater, but she was really good at illustrations. And of course, Mr. Waite knew about this. So he consulted with Pamela and told Pamela, hey, this is the direction that I want. I need you to create these tarot cards. And Pamela had 9 months to do it. And Mr. Waite decided to give her a flat fee to create those illustrations based on the notes and directions that he gave her. And she was able to do it. Now, all the source material, anything I've heard, we actually don't know how or what Pamela used to create all of the illustrations. We do see some influence from Eliphas Levi's notes, and we do see a little bit of symbolisms and signs from like the Golden Dawn, but it's pretty surprising that the Golden Dawn didn't, in that illustrations that Pamela made, weren't all influenced by it. So that was actually pretty cool. And so with that being said, that brings me to the Rider-Waite deck, and that was born. And so a lot of people will contribute Pamela Colman Smith as the mother of tarot, or the person that actually started tarot, because of her illustrations. And the Rider-Waite deck, which I personally use, was born and created. And with that, there were 78 cards that she created. And in those 78 cards, you will see 22 what they call court cards, trump cards, or the major arcana. And then the 56 minor arcana cards. And that system is used by hundreds and hundreds of decks. So thanks to Sir Arthur Edward Waite and Pamela Colman Smith, the tarot has a foundation, and you will see that in a lot of decks. It's used in a lot of decks. And I am going to stop there, so that way in Series 2 we're going to go over the Rider-Waite deck, the tarot deck, how to read it, and kind of the difference between a tarot deck and an oracle deck. I'm going to briefly graze on that. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much, and stay tuned for Series 2. Well, if you made it this far, thank you so much. You just watching this video all the way through really supports my videos and enables me to be able to make more. Don't forget to subscribe, that really helps as well. And of course, if you have any input, don't forget to comment and like the video. So the next part of this will be Series 2, and I'll just go over on how to read the tarot a little bit more deeper in just that direction. So until then, stay earthy, stay magical, and I hope something magical happens to you somewhere today. Bye for now.